So for mechanical, electricals, and plumbing, I can't stress enough how important it is to think ahead. We actually did that. We practiced what we preach. We reached out to Jeffrey Sauls over at Energy Vanguard, and he worked with us on our ductwork plan, which is important because this is a SIPS house. There are no wall cavities. So we're bringing everything up through the floor. You can't see our ductwork. We've run it. We'll show you from below. But obviously we've covered over our registers so people don't fall in. And then we have a number of other plumbing and electrical things that we can cover in here. We're trying to limit our penetration. So you notice Joe employed a Studer vent, an air admittance valve for our laundry drain here. We've got obviously a lot of electrical conductors and plumbing already run, but we're still in process on our HVAC in the basement because we're also moving forward with a bunch of ERV and then some remote location fans from Fantech. Now, we've got a few things that were challenging on this project that I want to talk through, mainly so that if you run into this, it can be of use to you. Obviously, we talked about this being a solar project and the amount of planning that went into that with regard to first feeding electrical from the barn, because we're going to put the solar array back by the barn. But then also, because it's solar, we're hoping for eventually a battery backup system. And that means we want a critical loads panel. So we'll talk about that in the basement as well. On this level, this is kind of your run-of-the-mill plumbing systems, where we actually put in some service cavity framing so it'd be easier for us to run our electrical. We're not doing anything really unique in the way of switching or lighting controls. So there are some additional efficiencies to be had there. But because this house is all electric, we are dealing with some pretty substantial loads, and that really is impacting us on the water heating side. Now, you could add propane because we're far from regular city gas lines, and you could also do a lot of different solutions that aren't what we chose, but we really like point of use hot water. We have 2 different systems planned for this, and because this is the kitchen laundry corridor, we actually have one. And it's actually, I think, a Stiebel Eltron is the model we settled on for heating water at the kitchen sink, the half bath, and the laundry that you see behind me. We have a separate volume of the house that's going to be fed by a separate tankless heater. Again, I think it's the Tempera 29 at that end of the house, which will serve the primary suite, the guest bedroom below, and the shower there. So we have these 2 independent systems so that we can keep the routing of those lines really short, and we're not dumping out a lot of cold water before we get to the hot. So that's one thing that we've done that adds to electrical load, but it delivers convenience to our client. In terms of the electrical, like I said, nothing crazy in terms of switching. We've talked about the challenges of working with SIPs in some of our editorial content. If you want to check out those build show videos, I can show you how I dropped a glowing orb of a hot ball bearing down through the wall to create a chase so that we could actually run electrical through these SIP panels. But for the most part, we don't want to take away the insulation that's inside of that wall cavity. That's the reason the client chose the SIP system. They want it to be full of insulation. So I don't want to melt big holes in it. That's why with all of the conductors that needed to move through here, we chose to sacrifice a little square footage and go ahead and frame in a service cavity. Much faster for our rough in, and yes, we lost some square footage, but we don't have any performance loss here at this kitchen wall. So that's the choices we made on the electrical and the plumbing side. In terms of the mechanical side, that's our HVAC. I talked about this layout from Jeffrey Sauls. This was critical to successfully conditioning these spaces because even though it's not a giant house, it does have 3 different systems. We have one system that conditions the lower level, which is partially below grade. It's a giant walkout basement. We have a second system that's servicing above grade on this side of the primary suite. And then because of the structure, we couldn't really add any ductwork to serve the primary suite off of these 2 systems. So it gets a third independent system. And let me walk you over and show you how that's going to go.